Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for another round of Mind Your Puckin' Business with your host, Jeffrey Krentzman.
Thank you, Dougie Sticks, as always, coming to you from the beautiful studios of Undefeated Media here in Bergen County, New Jersey. This is the Mind Your Puckin' Business podcast, brought to you, of course, by our good friends at the Bamboozled Project. We encourage you to check them out. You could go to www.thebamboozledproject.com. And while you're there, remember to use promo code that we promote every week, MYPB. Save yourself a whopping 25% off. Someone had said to me the other day they were stocking up last week for summer stuff that's on the site, and I reminded them MYPB saves you 25%.
Bada boom.
Bada bing, bada boom. We save you money here. This is episode number 113, Ciento Trece on the Spanish dial. We appreciate you turning on. Thank you, sir. Thank you. We appreciate you tuning in. As always, you can send us your questions at any time to mypbshow@gmail.com, or you can DM us mostly on the Instagram platform. We do respond to your questions and comments and all that stuff there. And you can listen to the show on a variety of different platforms. So you can have your platform of choice, YouTube, if you want to watch the video feed of the show, and iTunes and Spotify carry both the audio feed. So everywhere. And I should say, since we're in the middle of playoff times and things change here by the day, if you are listening to us on iTunes and Spotify and you're wondering, well, what is this current of? Today is Tuesday, April 25th. So we are coming on to you the morning after Game 4 of the Rangers-Devils first round series. So I guess I'm going to start here. There's so many different things I could say right now, and it's like I'm just going to go in a million different directions, and we're going to have a couple guests with us in a couple minutes to try and kind of help decipher it all. But a week ago we were on. The series hadn't started, and I think if you had asked any Ranger Devil fan of either team and said to yourself, look, are you surprised if I told you that after Game 4 this series would be 2-2? I don't really think if you were realistic, you wouldn't be surprised, right? Because any idiot that sat here and thought any team was going to sweep was just being a homer of either side. So I don't really think you're surprised in any way. I think after you saw the first two games and you said, well, the series is going to be 2-2, you would have sat here and been like, well, I don't know what you're watching. So let's start here. We talked last week about home ice not mattering in this series, and that both the Rangers and the Devils in the regular season were better teams on the road than they were at home. That trend is clearly continuing here, with both teams now being completely perfect on the road and 0-for at home, with the Rangers winning both the first two games at the Prudential Center and the Devils crossing the Hudson River and winning both games in Madison Square Garden. So let's talk about a couple things here. I could sit here and talk about games 1 and 2 and how well the Rangers played. I think the second period of Game 2 was the best period of Ranger hockey I've seen in probably 2 years. I mean, it was completely dominating in that period. But it's all really useless now to talk about, because obviously as the scene has shifted to the world's most famous arena at 33rd and 8th, that has completely gone away. I don't have a reason or an answer as to why the last two games have been as abysmal as they have been for the Rangers, but the Rangers have not shown up at all. And the turning point to me remains in Game 3. The Rangers are up 1-0 in the game in the second period, and Igor Shesterkin has called for a roughing penalty and a scrum in front of the net. Now, I am not blaming the officiating at all. It was a weak call, and the Rangers have got to be able to score goals. But that seems to be, at least right now, where this series turned around, because on the subsequent power play off of that penalty call, the Devils tied the game at 1, and then, of course, went on to win Game 3 in overtime by a score of 2-1 on a goal by Dougie Hamilton, who the Rangers, up until that point, had held him completely quiet in the series. So the Devils in Game 3 make a decision to go away from Vitek Vanacek and go to Akira Schmidt. Now, I don't want to pretend like I follow the Devils and I have a scouting report on Akira Schmidt or I know anything about him, because I don't. All right. But here's the problem. After watching him for 2 games, I still don't know anything about him, because the Rangers can't get any damn chances on this guy. All of a sudden, the Rangers, who could flawlessly go through the neutral zone in Game 1 and 2 and set up in the offensive zone and pepper Vitek Vanacek with shots and cycle the puck down deep, the Rangers can't do a damn thing in the offensive zone at all. That's even if they can get there. And last night in the second period, when the Rangers went on the power play, I said to my wife, we were watching the game, I said, watch, they won't even be able to get in the zone, let alone get a goal. They didn't even get any shots on that power play. So the Rangers here remain having problems with that, getting through the neutral zone. Akira Schmidt, again, I don't know if he's good or bad. I'm not being rude about Akira Schmidt, but I just don't know if he's good or not. But you can't blame him because he can only stop what's thrown at him. And what's being thrown at him is nothing of really high grade scoring opportunities. Here's the other thing that is becoming very frustrating. Where is Mika Zibanejad and Artemi Panarin? Are they even playing in this series? You have these two guys that had incredible, and I use the word incredible. It is a strong adjective to use, and they are deserving of it, so I'm going to use it, both of them had incredible regular seasons, just incredible, have done nothing, literally nothing in the playoffs. And it's not like, well, you know what? They just haven't done as much. No, they have done nothing. Literally nada, zilch, nada. Where are they? And we can get into, there was an article in the New York Post yesterday with Artemi Panarin. I think it was Larry Brooks who wrote it, who said, this is now the second postseason in a row where Panarin has kind of gone MIA. And you know what? Whenever the season ends, and if you're the Rangers, you still hope you have a run in you here. But whenever it ends, if this continues, you're going to ask the question with Artemi Panarin. Where is he? He's not hurt. I think last year, and maybe it was me trying to give an excuse that he was hurt, but where is Artemi Panarin? Where is Mika Zibanejad? Chris Kreider, a week ago, I said it would be nice, and I meant it being a jerk, and it ended up being right, where I said, where is Chris Kreider? The 50-goal Chris Kreider. It would be nice for him to show up in the series. He has 2 goals in game 1 and 2 and a goal in game 3. He's got 5 goals in 4 games. He ain't the problem. Where is Mika Zibanejad?
True.
Where is Artemi Panarin? Where is Alexis Lafreniere?
True.
Where is Philip Hedl?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I could keep going.
I don't know.
Where's Capo Caco? They're not. Where's Trocheck? Other than his goal in the third period last night and getting involved in every scrum, which is nice. I like that, but you're paid a lot of money to do more than the scrums and produce offensively. Where are you in the last 2 games? I don't know. These guys have just completely not shown up. So there's a lack of quality chances here, clearly, in these last 2 games that I don't know if Akira Schmidt is good or not. But the other thing that is strongly concerning is, why can't Gerard Gallant, as good of a coach as he is, and I like Gerard Gallant. Remember, I championed for the Rangers to hire him when David Quinn was still employed by the Rangers. So I'm not going to sit here and get on Gerard Gallant. But whatever moves the Devils have made, whether it's Lindy Ruff or their associate coach, Andrew Brunette, the moves that they have made in the last 2 games to become a defensive team, right? Clog up the neutral zone, forecheck you to make moves, don't let you gain the offensive zone easily, which is exactly what the Devils have done that have frustrated the Rangers. Why can't Gerard Gallant and his coaching staff come up with some sort of scheme to counter it? I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know what scheme are they doing? They can't get in the offensive zone. What adjustments are being made?
The Devils now seem to be putting a lot more guys in the neutral zone, making it harder for the Rangers to carry the puck through the neutral zone and gain possession in the offensive zone. The Rangers, and Gerard Gallant says this a lot about his team, we are at our best when we dump the puck in, we go in and we get it. That's how we play. That's how we prefer to gain the zone. They can't do that right now, and they're lost. And they're so lost that even last night on the power play, right, you have a man advantage. You have more men on the ice. Just Hockey 101 here for the novice listeners. You have more players on the ice than the other team. Oh. You still can't get in the offensive zone.
Hey, you should be able to do that with more guys.
You would think so. So the lack of quality chances. There was a play last night in the second period. It might have even been on that power play. I think it was with Alexis Lafreniere, who has just completely disappeared. I don't even know if he's aware that he's playing in a playoff series right now.
Everyone disappeared.
Everyone just disappeared. If your name is not Chris Kreider or Igor Shesterkin or Adam Fox or Tarasenko or Kane for those 2 games in Newark, you don't even know. You think you're on a beach somewhere in Aruba because you haven't shown up. So the Rangers have got to be able to counter it. Now, let's be optimistic for a minute. The series is 2-2. The series isn't over, right? It's a best of 3. The Rangers play better on the road. The Devils do. So I don't really care that the games that home ice is shifted back to Newark because the Rangers won 2 games there. I don't know that they want to be home at the Garden anyway. Here's your positive news.
What's your positive news?
Igor Shesterkin has a 1.44 goals against so far this playoffs. Mm-hmm. If he now look at it this way, right? Igor Shesterkin with a 1.44 goals against in 4 games basically means this. The Rangers with Zibanejad, Panarin, Kreider, Tarasenko, and Kane would have to score just 2 to 3 goals a game every game, and this would have been a sweep, and they can't get it done. So the positive that comes from that, though, is that your goalie is playing on top of the world. And if the Rangers can test this Akira Schmidt kid finally, and we can determine if he's good or not, and you can get 3 goals by him, I feel confident with Igor in the way he's playing that they can still win the series.
Igor got lit up last night. You nervous about that?
Well, when he got hit,
yeah, he got very hard.
I didn't have a problem with that. I try to watch these games. So someone had texted me and said, "Why is that not a penalty?" Right? I honestly didn't have a problem with it. I forgot who it might have been, Dawson Mercer or McLeod, one of them. I felt he was going for the puck and ran into his incidental contact. Right? I'm not, and you could see by the way the Rangers reacted, or maybe their lack of reaction with this team, which is normally the case. They didn't go ballistic over it. I didn't have a problem with it. Look, would I rather Igor Shesterkin get hit? No. But I didn't think it was a dirty play or anything like that. It just happens. And there was a play where right after Trocheck scored to tie the game, he took out Akira Schmidt, which actually I felt that was way worse than what happened to Shesterkin. So if I'm being fair, I'm not sure. So the series now has an extra day off, which is interesting because it is the only part in this playoff first round calendar where there's more than 1 day off between games. I think this benefits the Rangers a little bit in the sense that now you have 2 extra days to practice. You give your coaching staff, and I hope they're doing this, I'm sure they are, time to go back and look at the tape in game 3 and 4 and say, what exactly is going on here? And that's part one, is to say, what is the problem? But then part 2, which is equally as important, if not more important, is to say, what is the solution to the problem we just identified? And try to come up with some sort of game plan on how to come back here and get some chances. If I am the Rangers on Thursday night, I would expect them to come out and play better. I almost want to say it's not feasible to play worse than they played last night. Because if they play worse than they played last night, then this is when we can just end the series on Saturday. We can just go home and either focus on the Knicks or baseball or wait for the fall, whatever is your choice. But if I am the Rangers on Thursday, I am throwing everything at the net. I am getting traffic in front of the net. It seems all of a sudden they put a no-name goalie on that none of us have heard of. And, if you're a Ranger fan, you know that this has happened throughout the years, that you put in a goalie you never heard of and the guy is the next Patrick Waugh. But they haven't even tested this kid, which is what is so freaking frustrating.
Yeah, you think they put the new goalie in and you just rip shots at him, test him a little bit.
I felt like in game 1, actually, in Newark, in the first period, when they were up 2-0 after the first period, they were doing that with Vanacek. It's like they almost sat there and said, you know what, this guy's probably a little bit nervous and shaky. It's his first ever playoff game, and they were right, and they threw everything at him, and they were rewarded for it. Last night, it's like, they're not doing that. But at the same time, they're not putting themselves in positions to throw pucks at the net because they can't get into the offensive zone and get any sustained pressure.
Yeah.
And
their guys aren't stepping up like Jack Hughes is able to, finagle his way in there. There's no one stepping up who's taking the ball, taking the puck and running with it.
Last night is getting booed by the Ranger fans every time he touches the puck. That I don't understand. And I love Ranger fans, but Jack Hughes, I would take Jack Hughes on my team 7 days a week and then twice a day on the weekend or whatever the saying is. He is so good. He's an American kid. I understand you don't like him because he's on the Devils, but at the same time, we don't need to give these people any more ammo at the moment. He's already had no problem skating through us. Jack Hughes is what the Rangers lack, right? Where the Rangers right now are having trouble getting the puck into the offensive zone, either from the defensive end or the neutral zone. Jack Hughes is doing that flawlessly 9 out of 10 times for the Devils. Yeah. He will take the puck. They will literally wait for Jack Hughes to come into their own defensive zone, give him the puck, and they have gained the zone. I mean, it's maddening. Yes. So we can sit here and we could talk about all the good things they did in game 1 and 2, but we could equally sit here and just say all the things they've done is terrible in game 3 and 4. And then it just means, you know what, you take a coin out of your pocket and put it in the air and throw it up for.
It's crazy.
So I looked this morning because I was curious. What is the Vegas odds for the rest of the series? So as you know, the series opened, the Devils were minus 120. So before the series opened, Vegas was saying the Devils are a very, very slight favorite. Going into game 3, I believe the Rangers were minus 550, which didn't mean the series was over, but clearly Vegas was like, you don't want to bet on the Rangers. We're really not going to pay you out because they're going to win. Mm-hmm. Now, this morning, with the series tied at 2, the Rangers are minus 115, which is literally the slightest favorite anyone can be is minus 115. Because if you were minus 110, the other team would be minus 110. It would be 50-50. Mm-hmm. So right now, this morning, the Devils were minus 115. I'm sorry, the Rangers were minus 115, the Devils were minus 105, meaning the Rangers are a slight favorite, which I can understand the logic. They have the better goalie.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'm not trying to take anything away from Akira Schmidt, but they don't get any shots. I at this point, I said to my daughter last night, you could be playing goalie for me. I mean, you really could. So I don't know. Have you been watching the games?
Yes, I have been. It's pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. No one wants home ice.
No one wants home ice. And I'll say this, I didn't go. I wanted to go on Saturday night. They were up 2-0. I was thinking of taking my kids because, my kids are all into it and it kind of would be a cool atmosphere for them to see. I am so thankful that I didn't do that because that is the sort of game you get tickets to and you lose 2-1 in overtime, or even if you took them last night and you're just frustrated. Like, it's just, I don't need the aggravation. I was so annoyed last night. I was so annoyed after the game on Saturday that driving home with my kids in the car from Manhattan would probably not have been good. So I'm glad that I did not take them. So we will see as the series shifts here. We're going to bring in two of our favorite guests. We talk to these guys occasionally. I've been on their podcast a lot as well. That is the Rangers Ed podcast. I encourage you guys to check them out. As I've said many times on the show, they are one of the few Ranger podcasts that I listen to. I have an alert on my phone that comes out when they have new episodes, and they have been actually putting a ton of them out this time of year. They have been very, very busy, which I like. They have some good content. So we're going to bring in two of their crew today to help kind of try and decipher what is going on. And we're going to bring in Little Ed as well as Coach Ed. So let's get them both on screen. How are you guys?
What's up, Jeff? How we doing?
We are good.
What's going on? What's going on?
Not a lot. Well, I would say there's a lot going on and not a lot, depending on how you want to view it. So let's start here, Little Ed. If I had told you on Saturday night before Game 3, when the Rangers were up 2-0, that you would be on the podcast Tuesday morning with us and the series would be 2-2, would you tell me that you would be shocked, or I'm a Ranger fan and anything can happen, I'm not shocked?
Well, if you put it that way, I'm gonna have to go with the Ranger fan thing. But no, I was definitely shocked. We were talking very highly of them on our episode, and just amongst each other and whatnot. And we thought the series was wrapped up the way that they were playing. They had the stronghold on the Devils, and then they come into Game 3 and it seemed like their game plan or whatever their gameplay completely changed. It's very frustrating.
Okay, same question to you, Coach Ed. Are you shocked after Game 2 ended that here we are on the verge of Game 5 in a complete split?
I am shocked. I thought the Rangers would have at least split at the Garden. I didn't expect to sweep them in 4. I wasn't confident about Saturday night, but I thought they would have came back after that stronger.
Yeah, I thought. So it's funny. Saturday night, I thought they would lose. And I said this to my Devil friends on Saturday. I said, I just expect them to lose. Devils have to be the hungrier team. And then I thought last night, with how bad they played on Saturday with some of the veteran leadership, they would just come out on fire and they would be peppering this kid Schmidt. And they certainly couldn't do that. Little Ed, do you have any idea where Mika Zibanejad is right now, or Artemi Panarin? Are they playing in this series? What is going
on? Games 1 and 2, it seemed like Zibanejad was focusing on defense, and we kind of gave him a pass because he was shutting down Hughes and the Heishier line. But now it seemed like Galeno was trying to get him away from that line to try and mismatch and get him to do a little offensive jolt there. And he's still not producing. So, I mean, it's hard to just pick on him because that doesn't look like the entire team or any of the team is producing at all. Yeah, he's got to come out. I bet on him last night. I thought he was going to put one in. He definitely do. And it's getting frustrating. Like I said, I mean, the entire team is getting frustrating, and Panarin as well. I mean, the cross-ice passes are starting to make their appearance again, and that's not going to fly with the Devils. And they just got to go back to work, and Panarin got to get the puck deep and get into the corners. He's doing that well in games 1 and 2. And he seemed like he got away from that a little bit in games 3 and 4. So the entire team around in that aspect, I think.
Yeah, it's frustrating. And I had said this before. I think you guys were in the waiting room over there. Was that, whatever moves the Devils have made, Lindy Ruff or Andrew Burnett, whoever made the moves that's made these adjustments in game 3 and 4, you'd like to think that Gerard Gallant and his coaching staff can sit here and make some counter adjustments to it. And at least last night, obviously that wasn't the case. So maybe now the extra day off gives them time to look at film, kind of sit back, practice, and work on whatever it is they want to work on. and try and figure out here what is going on and to make these moves. All right. Coach Ed, what is is there a player? Obviously, Chris Kreider would be the name I would think that has, been the MVP of the series, or Igor Shesterkin. Is there one player, just one, that you are disappointed in so far more than anyone else?
I mean, I'm going to say it's Panarin. He hasn't. He's got to put some points up on the board. The power play the last two games is the difference. 0 for 5 in game 3. Last night and 0 for again. They got to put the puck in the net on the power play, make them pay the price. Then the Devils can sit back a little bit. It's that cat and mouse game.
Yeah, and again, on the power plays and the offers, it's a lack of quality scoring chances in those offer power plays as well, right? It's they're not coming out and even getting chances. I would love to see what this kid Schmidt is. Maybe he's good, but I don't have any body of work in 2 games to really tell you this kid's a good goalie or he's not, because it's these unobstructed wrist shots from the point on the power play that's completely unscreened. Any NHL goalie is going to stop this. What they're not getting traffic in front of the net. And last night, if you noticed on Trocheck's goal, it was a point blank shot because he was in front of the net. I mean, they got to get back to getting these greasy goals. All right. So, little Ed, let me ask you this. This is the $1 million question, and then I'll ask you, Coach Ed, as well. It is now a best of 3. What are your thoughts and what is your prediction for the next 3 games?
Before I answer that, I want to kind of touch on what you said about the traffic. I mean, I'm with you with just getting pucks on net. I mean, Coach Ed can say the whole game I'm just screaming, shoot the puck, get traffic, get pucks on net, dirty shots, whatever. But then I was listening to the post game, and Valakat said that's not always the right move. You got to try and get this guy moving side to side. So it is interesting to look at both sides of that and kind of make a decision on what you think will be best. But yeah, to answer your question, I'm going to stick with my original prediction of Rangers in 6. Coach Ed and I will be there on Saturday, so I'm hopeful, or I think that they'll wrap it up while we're there at home.
Yeah. All right, Coach Ed, same question to you. What's your prediction here the rest of the way?
I got to stay with the Rangers in 6 again, too. I mean, I can't believe these veteran players are going to go into Newark and not come out strong. I'd be kind of shocked and very disappointed, obviously. I think they're doing a lot of coasting and puck watching. What's his name? Schmidt was letting up a lot of rebounds. That was how we got the 1 goal last night, was on a double rebound. They got to beat the Devils to the puck on rebounds, and they're not.
Yeah, to your point, and this was what I said with last night, I just would expect the veterans here. I mean, there's a lot more veteran playoff leadership here with the Rangers than there is the Devils, right? You didn't not go out and get Tarasenko. You didn't go out and get Kane to blow a 2-0 lead in the first round and then just lose the – I mean, that would be an awful way to lose. You can deal with, and you wouldn't want to, but you can deal with going to the Eastern Conference Finals and losing in 7 games on a bad goal or something like that. That's not on them. But the veteran leadership was brought here for this moment. You're 2-2. You're going into an arena where you won 2 games last week. You need to win. So I don't disagree with your Rangers in 6. That was actually my original prediction as well. And I certainly can still see it happening because the Rangers can win in Newark. They showed it last week. And then if you come home with a clinching game with the 2 of you in attendance for good luck as well, I would like my odds. But I don't know what team is going to show up Thursday. I have no idea. I just am clueless on it. All right. Let me ask you one last question before we let you go. Igor Shesterkin, 1.44 goals against here so far in the playoff. Are you confident going forward in games 5 and 6 and maybe 7 that he can continue this hot pace the rest of the series?
I'll take it first, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead, little Ed. Yep.
Yeah, well, I apologize for the echoing. We've been trying to figure it out behind the scenes here, but I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah, Igor's got to keep it up. I think he will. I think he's kind of found his groove. He's definitely in the zone. You can tell when he's seeing the puck and when he's not. That second goal, I think, was kind of a fluke. He definitely should have had that one. I'm not really going to fault him for that. I mean, the Rangers should have won that game 5-6-2 anyway. So So I think Igor just stays strong, and he's going to be the X factor, like we said before the series. And he will be. I mean, the Rangers clearly have the better goalie, and it doesn't take much to show that. I think it's got to take the Rangers team. I think I said to Coach Ed after games 1 and 2, Igor was kind of relying on or feeding off of the Rangers team defense, not the other way around where it was last year, where Igor was carrying us through the season, carrying us through the playoffs. I think the team defense and the defense game really showed in games 1 and 2. I think that's more important than Igor showing up and just shutting down the Devils.
Okay, Coach Ed, same question for you. Confident in Igor the rest of the way?
Without a doubt. I mean, the 2 goals that they scored, the one in overtime and the second one last night, were pretty identical situations where the guy was on the weak side, wide open, and he had a clear shot. Igor misplayed both of them a little bit, maybe, but he made a lot of other key saves. The breakaway against Hughes, that to me, that's on Lindgren for not seeing Hughes fly by him and not reading it. I mean, it's all about the team, and letting up 2 goals against the Devils, they should be winning, especially with a rookie goalie.
And that right there is the reason why I still am confident, because they have the better goalie. Look, teams can go get cold on offense and whatnot, but I mean, eventually it comes around. You've got a couple games to get it back. You have the better goalie. And again, that's not a knock on Akira Schmidt. I just have no idea if he's good or not. So there's a quiet confidence with me. I would leave it at that. Why don't we bring in some of the comments? Joseph, who's writing in, thank God he was all right. And that was in response to the Igor discussion before. And then we'll bring in the next comment. Someone just wrote in, look at the giveaways in game 1 and 2. Yeah, Chris is right that, the giveaways that the Rangers, the numbers of giveaways at home was, I believe it was more than double, maybe even triple game 1 or 2. And the last comment that came in was that the OT goal on Saturday was a beautiful shot, and it was. You can't fault Igor for that. I mean, look, if there's 2 players on this team, that deserve no fault right now, it's Chris Kreider and Igor Shesterkin. Everyone else, as far as I'm concerned, it's fair game, especially Artemi Panarin and Mika Zibanejad. So,
Kreider could have been a little better in 3 and 4 on the forecheck. Came out flying in 1 and 2. Last night he was invisible. I mean, no forecheck, no hits. I didn't see much at all. I love him. Don't get me wrong. But again, those guys in overtime can't be left alone. It's a team. It's a 5-on-5 situation.
You're absolutely right. And you can see the giveaways. We'll put it up. Someone just wrote in the giveaways. The numbers were 9 giveaways in game 1 and 2 to 34. So it's more than triple. I mean, it's almost quadruple. I mean, that
quadruple.
Is that?
I never heard quadruple before.
What would it be for?
Quadruple.
Is that?
I think you combine quadruple with triple.
I'll have to ask my
quadruple.
Wife. My wife will know. But it sounds good. All right. Well, thank you guys both for joining us. We appreciate it. Bring us good luck on Saturday night. We'll need it, and we'll have you guys back on soon. Thanks, guys.
Let's go Rangers. Thanks, buddy.
Let's go Rangers. You got it, Coach Ed. Be well. That is Coach Ed and Little Ed of the Rangers Ed podcast. Again, you can find them very similar to us on iTunes, Spotify. They do a good job on their Instagram page. You can always, interact with them, and good stuff over there.
Absolutely.
Yes. Can somebody at Undefeated Media bring in B-Rock for a minute?
B-Rock should be listening in.
If B-Rock is listening out in the hall,
come on down.
If he can come into the studio, I want to talk to him for a minute. We'll see if we can get him. We'll send our executive producer, Pat.
Down. You're on the Mind Your Pucking Business show.
Before we get to B-Rock, I want to go around the league real quick. Yes. Because we covered it last week because people were complaining that we were only talking about the Ranger Devil matchup. So the other stuff in the Eastern Conference, the Boston Bruins are up 3-1 against Florida. I don't know after Florida won game 2 and it was a 1-1 split that the Bruins or their fans were ever scared. They were still pretty heavily favored in Vegas. They will end this series real soon. I mean, I would imagine it would actually end tonight, or actually tomorrow night is game 5 in Boston. And B-Rock is now crawling across the studio to get to his seat. I mean, this is unfortunate that we don't have more cameras.
Anything for show business.
Anything. So last night in Toronto, last night in Tampa in game 4, the Lightning were up 3 goals against the Maple Leafs, up down 2-1 in the series, really giving you all indications that series was going to shift north of the border on Thursday night, with the series tied at 2.
And that's a heated rivalry, right?
Yeah, they've been rivals. It's a great series. I told you that I was more fascinated by the Maple Leaf Lightning series than any series there is out there. I am shocked that the Maple Leafs, after a terrible game one, have found a way to win 3 in a row. But if you are a Maple Leaf fan with your track record, you are not confident if you were up 3-0. That team needs to close it out, and their best bet to do so, I would think, would be a Thursday night in Toronto. So I wish them luck, because I'm kind of pulling for them to get rid of their first-round curse and finally get out. The other Eastern Conference matchup that I was wrong on, it certainly appears, is the Hurricanes and the Islanders. Tonight, down in Carolina, Carolina has a chance to actually be the first team to close out a first-round series and try to beat the Islanders 4-1. I thought both games in Carolina, game 1 and 2, were close. Obviously, game 2 went to overtime on a really weird, bizarre goal. And the Islanders came out in game 3 and played like they do. But I was shocked on Sunday with the Islanders down 2-1. They just didn't show up and lost 5-2. So we'll see if the Hurricanes can close them out. And if you're the Hurricanes, you have added incentive to do so, because you now know you play the winner of the Rangers and Devils, and the winner of the Rangers and Devils at least is going to Saturday night, game 6. If you could close out your series on Tuesday, if the Ranger Devils go to game 7 on Monday, which is possible, you have an extra week of rest. Yeah. That is enormous. I mean, that's huge incentive for whoever you're going to play in round 2. Out west, last night, the Kraken win in overtime to tie their series with the defending Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche. So that now shifts back to Colorado tied 2-2. It's hard to not still like Colorado in the series, but you have to be amazingly impressed by Seattle. They went into Colorado, won game 1. They fought last night and won in overtime. So that series is now really interesting. But again, I just still lean towards Colorado and their experience. Another series that I was huge on, I said this was probably the best first-round series out west, and that is Dallas and Minnesota, is now tied at 2. You had game 1 went to overtime. Last night was a 1-goal game. Really good game and a very chippy series. It's actually gotten very physical throughout. So if you're a fan of playoff hockey, you might want to tune into game 5 tonight in Dallas. It is on TBS at 8 o'clock Eastern, and watch game 5 of Minnesota and Dallas. In the Pacific Division, the Vegas Golden Knights got a scare in game 1 and lost to Winnipeg at home, but have since won 3 in a row. So you've got to win Vegas's chance here in either game 5, 6, or 7 to get one more win and advance out of the first round. The other series, which I was really into, and I still am, and it is another one tonight that you should turn into, is the Oilers and Kings. 3 of their 4 games have gone to overtime. That's how close that series is. And obviously Edmonton, and we had Jack Michaels on, their play-by-play guy, with Connor McDavid trying to get his team, to a Stanley Cup finally. A great series, totally even game, and give the Oilers credit, because in game 4, they were down in the series 2-1 and down in the game 3-0. So that's where you kind of pack it in. And they didn't. They fought back and won on a Zach Hyman goal in overtime. So that is a good series as well. So that's a little around the league stuff. All right, we're going to bring in B-Rock. So let's see if we could and B-Rock, he doesn't really need an introduction as to why he's here, because he decided to roll up to the studios today in what he is calling his undefeated dress code. Oh, yeah. So our executive...
Well, I don't know about
that. Unofficial Tuesday dress code. I still have the undefeated.
Okay,
polo
we'll
underneath.
allow it then.
Okay.
As long as he's got the polo underneath.
Yeah. He's got it. Okay. So it was interesting, because pulling up today in the parking lot,
yes,
I saw our executive producer who comes out like he's at a GQ, shoot, and there's B-Rock pulling up beside him in a Patrick Elias 1998 jersey. All right, B-Rock.
You got people of all origins.
We do. They run the entire gamut here at Undefeated Media.
Yes.
All right, B-Rock. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I want to get a couple Devils perspective, because obviously we are Ranger fans.
Right.
Series is 2-0 Thursday night. You go to bed. You've been the Rangers were great in game 2. You were not.
Right.
And I would say it's looking grim. Is that right?
That's an understatement. Honestly, I'm not the kind of guy who is going to be moping around, with no hope at all. But it's tough.
You didn't show up to work the next day.
That was
you were here to mope around.
Unrelated. However, it's tough. It's tough to go down 5-1 back-to-back games and think you have a legitimate chance in the series, especially going to Madison Square Garden. Despite being a good road team, you never want to go down 0-2 in a series and go to play, 2 road games. So yeah, I would say it was definitely a bleak start. But I mean, I I'm on cloud 9 right now. I feel great about the series.
So Saturday afternoon, you're getting ready for game 3. Now you're going into the Garden, you're down 2-0, and really that's a must-win game. You can't go down 3-0 because teams can come back, but to beat Igor Shesterkin 4 games in a row, even though it was done last year by Tampa, is not easy to do.
Right.
You find out, and I don't know how you found out because I don't talk to you on the weekends. You find out that Akira Schmid is going in net. Your thought at the moment is what?
I was calling for it after game 2, to be honest. I think the Devils needed to shake something up. I knew that, Vanacek has moments where it almost looks like he's kind of not all mentally there and he's just kind of zoning out. When I saw his play in the first 2 games, I knew that they had to shake something up. And I have seen enough of Akira Schmid throughout the regular season this year and a little bit last year to know that he's kind of capable of surprising you. I mean, earlier in this season, we saw Blackwood give up, I think, 3 or 4 goals in the last week of the season. And what was really his job on the line, they pulled Blackwood, brought in Schmid, and Schmid was able to shut that game down. The Devils came back to win. So I've seen a lot of good play from Schmid before. I'm certainly shocked to see him play this well, especially on the road in the playoffs. But this is the kind of goalie that I've seen flashes of before. And if this is truly what he is capable of doing on a regular basis, it's going to be interesting to see how the Devils handle this going forward in the playoffs. If they want to roll with Schmid or Vanacek going forward, if they are able to make it out of this series with the Rangers.
So who is the player on the Devils? I'm going to ask you the question. I'm going to give you my answer, but I trust your answer more because you follow the team. My question is, who is the player that is not like, who's the equivalent of Zibanejad and Panarin that has not shown up? To me, watching the game, it's Jesper Bratt. I haven't seen the guy do much, and he had a couple chances in the series. Is that who needs to show up that hasn't shown up yet?
It's honestly tough to say. I mean, as far as the offensive production as a whole, it's been pretty quiet on the Devils side. I mean, they scored 3 goals. One was an empty netter. Siegenthaler managed to squeak one in. Obviously, Hughes with the breakaway. But, yeah, I'd say Bratt, in terms of just being able to produce, I would like to see more from Bratt. He did have that assist on the Doug Hamilton overtime winner. But, yeah, I'd like to see a little bit more playmaking and a little bit more of his speed because I think on the breakaway, it's really him and Hughes that shine. I mean, there's no doubt that, the speed for the Devils is what they like to take advantage of. So I would say, yeah, I'd like to see more from Bratt, but I'd also like to see more from guys like Mercer.
Right as you say it, someone just wrote in. Can you pull up Mercer? That someone just wrote in. No, the one before that, actually, if you could put that comment up.
Yeah, I agree with Chris, 100%.
Yeah, Dawson Mercer. That would be another good answer, actually.
Yeah, Dawson Mercer is another one of those guys that has really been able to give the Devils the edge in terms of a matchup. I mean, there's not really anybody on the ice that I feel is slacking, but I would like to see more from Dawson just because, I mean, when he is playing well, it's just another added layer of dimension that makes it difficult for other teams to, keep up.
So let's pull up that. It's a longer comment, but we'll read it and then we'll end with that. And that is Jim Behringer, who's been on the show many times, covers hockey. How about the Devils' crazy series, road series? Keep things simple. Rangers played the Devils game in the first 2. Devils got back to their game in the next 2. That's what winning does. Devils need a game 3. Devils like the road and play better and play the game on home ice. As Hughes said post-game, Devils weren't very good in the first 2 games. No. Well, the same could be – Jack Hughes is right, but, Mika Zibanejad could say the same thing about the Rangers. They weren't good in game 3 and 4. Yeah. I mean, so it's really trying to figure out the rest of the way who's going to find a way to be right. All right. Yeah. I know where your answer is going here, but I'm going to ask you this anyway, and we'll end with this because you know where I'm going. If you had to predict here the next week, because we're going to be back on a week from now, which would be the morning after an if necessary game 7.
Yeah.
So when we're on again, we'll have the answer as who's playing and who's golfing between me and you.
Yeah.
What is your prediction for the rest of the series? Because originally, if I'm not mistaken, I did see on Instagram you were saying Devils in 4.
That is correct. That was an early prediction. I mean, I obviously am one to try to get a rise out of people, especially on the MYPB Instagram. However, I could totally see this series going to 7 games. I was telling you earlier before the show, if you were to tell me that the Devils are going to go down 0-2, win 2 games on the road, and take a game 5 in Prudential Center with a chance to take the series lead, I say sign me up. So, listen, if the Devils are going to win this series, I do believe they have to win one home game. They're going to have to. Yeah, they're going to have to win. They're going to have to win. I think it's not – I saw Johnny Lazarus say this last night about the Rangers. It's not a must win, or
can't lose.
it's not a must win, but it's a can't lose.
Yep.
I think that's the kind of situation that the Devils are in right now, because I don't like going down the series again. I think, it's going to have to be a Game 5 victory if the Devils win this series.
I think that's a good point. I mean, the Devils can lose Game 5 and win the series. So I'm not saying if the Rangers win Game 5, the series is over. However, if you're the Devils, you do not want to go into MSG on Saturday night in an elimination game. You don't.
That's terror.
You would love to go into that game with a chance to eliminate the Rangers, and at worst, you have a Game 7 back in your barn Monday, which really would be a pick 'em, because both these teams are better on the road.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pick 'em every game.
Every game's a pick 'em, and every game. As a matter of fact, the Saturday's Game 3, the Devils were plus 160, and even last night they were plus 145, which is not a huge for a team that's down in a series. Usually, it's more like plus 200. It just goes to show you are right. Well, thank you for joining us.
Whoa.
Yes.
Enough of the patty cake. Let's take the gloves off a little bit. How do you really feel? I don't know. You guys talk smack every day in the studio. Cameras are rolling. Now you guys play patty cake. Let it rip a little bit here. Let's go.
I've said
take gloves off. Come on.
I mean, if we wanted to, we could. Here's the thing: we could throw around, not insults, but digs at the team. I mean, that's typical Ranger Devil banter. But
so what's your dig?
At this, I mean, I feel, and this is not a dig on Little Ed, but Little Ed was saying the game should have been 6-2 Rangers last night.
No,
which is an absurd take. And here's the thing: I think the thing that we don't really get in arguments, and this is rare. If you're a Ranger fan and you're a friend of mine, we will go at it. But I don't seem to have arguments with Jeff. I feel like Jeff is a very level-headed Ranger fan, which is unfortunate because you're not going to get those heated arguments that you want.
You won't.
So I don't click patty cake.
I don't know what to say. Well, I've said this, and I said it last week, but I've said this throughout the 2.5 years we've done the show. I don't ever want to come here and be a homer. I'll tell you if I think the Rangers are going to win. Right. But I'm also not just going to be the guy that always picks the Rangers to win, because then what's the point of listening, right? And I have an enormous respect for the Devils. They've had the biggest point turnaround in NHL history. It's hard to not respect them. And look, I look at the rest of the series and say, would I be shocked if the Rangers ended up winning the series? No. Would I be shocked if the Devils won the series? No. It's kind of like Vegas has it as a pick 'em. I like the Rangers because they have the better goalie. And that's not a knock on Schmidt. I don't know what he's even about because we can't get any shots. The Rangers need to readjust.
So I asked you to take the gloves off, and you guys wind up hugging. Great, thanks.
Well, it's all, what are you looking for?
I don't know. A little spice.
Rangers suck, and it's almost 30 years since they've won a cup. They have won Stanley Cup championship since penicillin.
You know what? I have not heard. I'm not getting into it. But I like that the penicillin reference, because that I've never heard before. Like, you can always hear like 1994, the rain, 54 years, but like using it as like an analogy with penicillin, I think is cool.
And I will say this: if there's one thing that would just mean the world to me, would be the Devils winning their 4th Stanley Cup, accomplishing what the Rangers have done in 100 years in their 40th anniversary. It would be absolutely marvelous to be able to accomplish an entire.
I'm going to take the high road and say that if it's going to happen, you got to get through the Rangers, so it would be even sweeter for you.
Oh, absolutely.
So, well, thank you for joining us, Pete.
Thanks for having me.
And I apologize to Dougie Sticks for not getting involved in UFC here. So that is it for today. We appreciate you listening. The rest of the week, I don't need to tell you what's coming up, because you know what's coming up. Game number 5 is at the Prudential Center Thursday night. Remember, there's the extra day off. Game number 6 at the Garden. There is technically no time assigned for the game Saturday, but if you do a little research, you do know that ABC on their TV listings has the NHL on Saturday night, so you can almost bet that is an 8 o'clock game, with one team having the opportunity to eliminate the other, whoever emerges victorious on Thursday night. And if necessary, if that team does not eliminate said team on Saturday night, Monday night back at Prudential Center would be Game 7 between the New York Rangers and the New Jersey Devils. Thank you for tuning in today. We will. What were we going to say?
Aaron Rodgers a Jet.
Aaron Rodgers. We don't.
See you later.
We can put up Joe's comment right before we go at the bottom, which is all the way down at the end. Good job, everyone. Let's go Rangers. Joe, thank you for listening. We like your ticket. You see, look, you can be civil.
I can be. When I want to be, I can be.
Look, me and you. I won't get into our relationship, but when we're outside of, not on the air, we are like honest with like our team's flaws. I'm not coming here to just rip you.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I mean, look, you played a very good last 2 games. I feel like I've been watching the 1995 Devils again. We'll see if it can continue. That is it for us. We appreciate you tuning in. We will talk to you next time. Have a great week.